Well, thought I'd make this movie about my situation since my wife's accident, and when I was young, like we were born quite religious Christianity, but as I grew up, it opened my eyes and asked a lot of questions and got a lot of answers. And over the years, when we found on the internet how the Christian religion was exploiting little kids and God knows what else, and then you thought that what you started to believe in was very real and very true. And it's now the same with our society. This we needed this accident, really. Thank God we didn't die, but we needed this accident to open our eyes to what the world, the kind of world we live in, and who govern us, and where we actually stood in this world. It's like everything. The more you learn, you find out how little you really know in life. Very, very little. And but what worries me now, that the more my eyes is being open and understanding the world for what it is that, like, with this maturity, shouldn't we be able to do something and create something that prevents, like, could you imagine, like, if our forefathers, my great 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 grandfather, might have thought like I have, but there wasn't machinery around to assist him to undermine the situation where, he thought, well, if I put little old men with little young boys and knowing the world the way it is, because I'm sure this sort of thing within the human race always existed, that can we build a fail-safe device to prevent this thing from happening? It's just the same thing like we are now, where we are at now. What's the use of going out to save the world only to put it back to square one again, for the whole thing to happen again, what you see? It's like these little kids were abused. Just imagine if you could have stepped into the future and come back to the present, and said at that time, well, I know this thing happened. How could I have stopped it? Like, what could I do in our society to prevent it from happening? It's like, could you imagine now, like, I know how corrupted our system is. My enemies is not your Bin Ladens, your Iranians, they don't do me any harm, and the thing is, the sad thing is I know who is my enemy today, but do you know who your enemy is? Do you, or do you depend on a third party, somebody that you don't know nothing about, a total stranger, to tell you who your enemy is? I just had to go to the dictionary to refresh my mind for the definition of enemy, and what I saw, it exactly what I thought it was, somebody who hates you, who harms you, who, well, generally, if anybody who harms you is an enemy, and but when it comes to other countries or the other armies, thing is, if anybody come to harm us, why did they harm us? The thing is in especially with this, with 9/11 now, there's too many exclamation marks, and nobody's giving the answers for the little blanks in the middle. Nobody's talking about it, and how can you have a society that doesn't explain to it? It's like the situation I've got now with my case. Washing machines fell from 30 feet, and there's no explanation. I can see the explanation, but on paper, There is no explanation, just like 9/11 and Building 7. There is no explanation. You know, they just not prepared to talk about it, and we the people are not prepared to demand answers. And even if we are demanding it, you know, those of us who have enlightened ourselves, we're not going to get any answers. It's like me demanding answers from the local authority and the police to speak out and say why the washing machines fell. Even though they got the photos of it, they're not prepared to say it, because, you know, you're back to the situation of, you know, these old men had the powers to rape little young boys, and there's nothing nobody can do about it. You know, like, even if their parents find out, what do they do? You know, well, of course nowadays they can come on YouTube, you know, and scream their head off, you know, for what it's worth. And I don't think they get anywhere really. We're supposed to, you know, at least now you can go to the police, and if it's, you know, not somebody really important, you may get something done about it. But no, I don't think, you know, I think this society today is more evil than it's ever been, because you got, you know, the people that rulers are getting so strong and massive. It's terrifying, you know. Like with me, I thought I'd go and get the largest solicitor I could, biggest for my wife, and they'd probably be great. Not so, you know. It doesn't work like that. All it means is if something wants to be evil, there's no way of stopping them. And when they're very big, it's like getting a big army, you know, to represent you. But it's all right if the army is good. But if the army is evil, now you got a massive big army against you. So that is a logic that I've learned, you know, that you just as well get the tiny little guy to represent you that is honest, you know, and know his law. But at least when he wants to turn against you, you've got one little tiny guy to fight with, you know. Well, I should put the latest update about my case here now. And our present solicitor has decided to apply to the court to come off the records, and he's done it all basically in 24 hours, you know, to frighten us to death. And it's to think like flash lightning, you know. It took 3 solicitors over coming on to 5.5 years to sort out a case where washing machines fell from 30 feet and hit a woman and nearly killed her. And they can't, you know, they dragged their feet as long as they possibly could. It took them 24 hours to apply, you know, to come off the records. It's mind-boggling. It shows you they've suddenly got the speed when they know when they need it for their little buddies, you know. And it's, I think, you know, that this movie is not only for me, it's also for other things on here. I just feel that we really need to wake up, you know. Well, at least in the US you're talking about impeaching Bush, but over here they've got a lot of football games on lately, you know. And I don't think we'll be talking anything of the kind over here. Another thing I would like to add, you know, isn't there a lot of Muslim solicitors in Britain, you know? I can't understand why Fire didn't have a Muslim solicitors, or are they worse than us, you know? I wonder, you know, because I was so surprised when you didn't have a Muslim solicitor. It sort of boggled my mind a bit. Is there any decent solicitors, Muslims out there, that are Muslim solicitors much more decent and honest than us, the English solicitors over here? Please let me know, the Muslim solicitors that is, who bothers to come on YouTube. Unless you're one of them, then I don't know what you're dropping bloody bombs everywhere for if you're no different. I nearly forgot something very important. To the Irish, good on you. Well done, Paddy, me boy. Yes, I think I've learned, when they're too big, they're too dangerous. I think we need to start bringing everything down to size that we can take on and control. We should have learned our lesson. I've learned my lesson. And now keep it small and keep it sweet. And I think this is the way of the future. We need to be big amongst ourselves and love each other and create a massive big love machine, but keep our rulers and big corporates small. We've got to find some way of fragmentizing them, and because I think they're getting too dangerous, too ruthless, too heartless, have got no feelings whatsoever. Unbelievable.